Mjebaleko mwena gyemuli yonna gyemuli kansubire muli bulungi njagala kubaaniriza era okubalamusa ku show yaffe ya leero zanji munatusonyiwa lwakuba tututakabanga nga tetujja nga tetuliiwo ate n'ekirala leero nzize nga bannange tebasobodde kunneeyungako tubadde tulwanisa obudde ate neera nga tulwanisa n'ebyuma naye nga omanyi osobola bulwanisa kubanga bo buddukira ku ki momentum yaayo so munatusonyiwa era munatusabira oluddako tusobole ffenna okujja naye nga awatali ekyo tugenda era sigala nga tukola kye twajja okukola nga tubaweereza nga ffenna tusoma nga tuyiga nga ate tukwatira wamu so njagala kusaasira yenna abadde ayina ekintu kyonna byabadde ayitamu mu kadde kano and a warm welcome to today's show ngenda ba mixing of course nga twogera mu Lungereza Lugangereza tugenda ba twogera mu Lugangereza nga mixingamu ntabikamu Oluganda n'Oluzungu naye nga leero era twabadde twategese show era twabadde bakujja yeno show gye twali twategeka ne ku luli lwe tutasobola kujjako ku mpewo zino ku mukutu naye nga leero just ngenda kusunako busuni era bannange bwe balidda bajja bbanga bakola ki nga bongereza ku wendi bankomye so yet again welcome to Zanji. Today's main topic tugenda banga twogera ku kintu ekiyitibwa capitalism ate nga twogera so omulamwa gwa leero guli capitalism nor the enemy. Ekigambo capitalism tukikozesa nnyo so tugenda ba leero nga tutunulira ebyenfuna na only mu Uganda naye globally ng'ensi ebyenfuna bya settingibwa up bitya ate tukuumiddwa tutya obuddu olwabi engeri ebyenfuna gye byakola ki gye biri set up kubanga ndowooza kakati tutuuse akaseera whereby tutandise okufuna realization kiri very important okuseparate bibiri woba olwana for a liberation woba olwanira for liberation of a people kubanga just tolwana gwe wenunule abantu fenna ng'Abannayuganda tube wamu tununulibwe ate tubadde twogera nga tu extending our mindset to neighbors baffe abatuliraanye Museveni bataddeko n'ab'olutalo beenunula batya nga Uganda yenunudde so olutalo lwe tulimu si lwa justice ekinoomu naye nga lw'abantu so kitegeeza kiki ng'olwanira abantu okwenunula kiba kitegeeza kati tuva ku kulwanisa individuals bunze kanumbe pato just nkosa example simanyi na pato yani naye just nkoseza linnya kanwanise pato kuba pato yalidde yakoze kino nekiri kanwanise kaatake ngono kuba yakoze kino nekiri ndowooza we tutuuse kati and realization tulina tutuuse ekiseera whereby tuli kulwanisa kye bayita system so the more we tutandika okutunulira these systems we tulina n'okukola ki n'okuzitegeera so that's why omulamwa gwa leero guli capitalism which is an economic system etugoverninga ffenna not only ng'eggwanga Uganda naye nga I believe ate bangi bakyogeddeko ffenna tuli in what is called an empire eno running a certain economy so leero tubadde twagala kutunulira ddala eno system yateekebwawo etya yatandika etya ate etu affecting etya then ebujja mu maaso nga bannange banenyunzeeko that will be Masolo ne Gerard tuliyongerayo kutunula ddala Uganda tutuusizzawa and Africa in general tutuusizzawa kuba ekikwatagana ku Africa bonna ekikwatagana ku African continent kiba kitukwatako naffe so tugenda kusooka tugende mu video nyimpi nnyo ng'erinako byennyonnyola then neera nate I will come back and then we'll start looking at specific things n'okutandika okutegeera specific things. So tulina entegeera mbu in order okwenunula tulina okulwanisa system ya Museveni with a system, naye teri ngeri gy'osobola okulwanisa system eyo nga gwe mwennyini tomanyi kyeki. So knowing the enemy, number one principle in fighting for liberation, naddala liberation akwataganira ne African liberation oba ow'Abafirika, kubanga misinformation and propaganda mungi gwe batuliisizza bukyanga tuzaalibwa obutatusobozesa okwenunula, and for reasons zengenda okutunulamu today, so that fenna tuba clear at a clear point. Enemy waffe aliwa, ate omusota guliwa, ate bwawe tutandikira okusalako omutwe gwago. So katusooke tulabeka video kano nera nate nkomewo nga nyina byennyonnyo.
I think that the real question is that people are not clear on capitalism because capitalism is a very vicious system, but what it does is it embroideries its viciousness with all sorts of elusive terms. For example, many of us would support capitalism because we actually believe that in a capitalist system, there's a chance for us to get the same amount of money as Rockefeller gets, because we're told that under capitalism there is equality of opportunity. So that we feel that if this year we didn't make as much as Rockefeller made, then we got to work a little bit harder, and next year we're going to make it. But if we carefully examine a capitalist system, we will see that it's based on exploitation, because the viciousness of capitalism, and the reason why once black people examine it, we can never be for it, is that under a capitalist system, the fruits of those who labor are enjoyed by somebody else. That is, those who do the laboring, the fruits of their labor, they don't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we could say under capitalism that the fruits of the labor of the toiling masses are enjoyed by those who do not labor. And again, as black people, we have clear examples of it. If we were to get the fruits of our labor from slavery, just from slavery, all we got to do is go to Nixon and say, hey, look, you give us the fruits of our labor from slavery and we forget the score. We would be the richest people in the country. Again, because under capitalism, the individual exploits the labor of the people. Now, people get confused because this is a capitalist system and it's a developed system. It's a technological system. So they combine capitalism with technology and development, and they think that there is no other possible way to develop this rapid terms of development without going through the capitalist route. But certainly we have examples that show the opposite of that. China is a clear example of that. Cuba is, North Korea, North Vietnam. These countries certainly in Africa, where countries have chosen the socialist path, such as Tanzania, Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville, Algeria, we see that there is another way to develop and get the same type of things that we have under the capitalist system, but in a system that does not exploit each other, where all of us work and the fruits of our labor are divided evenly. Let me show you how backward capitalism is. It's a backward system. We could make two statements about capitalism to show how backward it is. About America. America's a capitalist country. It's thoroughly capitalist. It's an imperialist country. But we could say that, number one, America is the most technologically advanced country in the world. And that's an undeniable fact. It's a truism. It's a truism. America is the most scientifically developed country in the world. And right under that, we could say a second fact, which will show you how backward America is. We could say that America, in 1945, made for her people better cars than she does in 1973. And if you analyze this, you'll see how vicious the system is, because here's America with its great technological skills, its great scientific ability, and rather than making a safe car for people that will last 20 years, which they can do with the scientific knowledge that's at their fingertip, they rather take this knowledge and build a car which will break down every 2 years, so you're forced to buy another car. Thus, you see, under capitalism, what they do is they take their scientific skills, and rather than using it for the benefit of the people, they use it to further exploit the people. And certainly this type of system is too backward.
Kansubire obubaka bubatuuseeko ate buli omu alina kyafunyeemu mu that video. So nga ngezaako okuyitaayitamu mu mpolampola ebintu ebyogerebwako. Omanyi we twogera ku systems of oppression, naddala ddala we twogera ku byenfuna. Nze kyanzibuwalira nnyo we natandika okubirowoozamu. Kubanga right now in our world, tuyina operating right now, tuyina 3 economic systems that operate. tulina kye bayita capitalism, which was global tandikibwa nga we tugenda obiyitamu leero tugenda laba engeri gye yava ne kati bweri. Ne tuba ne ekiyitibwa communism, which is countries nga Republic of Northern Korea ne China. Ne tuba ne kye bayita ne socialist countries, which is ngensi nga Cuba through revolutionary struggle batuka, and they have protected and shielded their socialism up to this day. Ne tuba ne Tanzania also was socialist. So enjawulo eriwo with all these economic systems is means of production ziba mu mikono gyani, ani akulembera means of ani ayina obusobozi okugenda okuproducinga products. And but again and again and over time mbu capitalism as a means of action eri always exploitive, kubanga kangambe abantu abasinga kati kose example ya nyini anyone who's alive oja kuba able to examine whether your labor is being exploited or ina access to means of production. So temugenda kubanga kati sibalaba mundaba naye nga buli omu gyali kati tufumiitirize. How many of you woba ng'oli eyo nga okola nga tokola for an hourly wage? Abasinga naddala bali mu diaspora za Europe oba North America tukimanyi yaffe is okolera on an hourly wage eri principle. Naye oba ng'okolera salary kansuubire kati nga katugamba ofuna salary within a month, naye nga ekibuzo kiri nti woba ofuna salary within a month, how many of you era nera again abali on this live nga business yiyo, you know, ate weba business nga yiyo ekyo kikyusaamu then tugwe. How many of you share profits n'abantu bamwe ababakolera? Nomba mu sharing profits instead of profit sharing, lwaki temusharing a means of production n'abantu babakolera woba gwokozesa abantu? Then ekibuzo kiri nti how many of you would share profits? Kubanga ekyo then narrows down capitalism kiki ekiri. So before when I get into the details, lwaki kuba leero njagala tulabe fenna how backwards a system capitalism can be and how exploitive kyenjagala tujje mu kino ekintu. So ekintu kya capitalism kyali nti katugende ku slide 2 then tulabe tugenda kutandika mu budde tulabe kubanga ekibuzo kiri nti eno system kubanga global economy bagambyeko ensi endala ezina different systems naye nga capitalism has seemed to be the global economy to the point that mu 1970s China yaggulawo its markets so to the world, so naye etandike okutunda some private property. So principles of capitalism ezisinga, if I'm to go into just ngenda just briefly ku bantu abawandika about capitalism, like European philosophers babitandikawo oba abawandika principles of capitalism, idea yali nti if you go somewhere no mixing ekifo ekyo with your labor n'okolawo n'engalo zo kati kangambe ogenda ku kibanja n'otandika okulima n'otunda ekyo kibikaminga kikyo. But the difference was the more bakola kino ne babuildinga factories ne babuildinga kino n'ekiri capital the ownership eya private ownerships kubanga katugambe kati ngeyo principle teyandikoze mu Africa kubanga most land was communally owned. Kati kangambe nga buli kika kyayinanga ettaka. So nga gwe tosobola genda nga sisobola genda nga desire nentandika lwakuba nnimyewo nge awange buli kya producing mweri ettaka kyali kya kika. Naye nga kansoke backtracking back to the back kansoke nzireyo ngenda according to program actually gye twasetinze. So capitalism atandika kuvaawa mwebuuzanga ate n'ekirala wetwogera history w'Abafirika bwe nali sigenda limba nali omu ku abo nga yes nabiwulirako, yes nabisomako, naye nali si understanding lwaki okutwala abafirika mu buddu kitukwatako nga bwe kyatukwatako 400 years ago paka kati to this day. Kubanga the first capital mu nsi yonna yonna was abafirika be bajja on African continent ne babatunda as objects ng'abatali bantu. That was considered the first capital. Ye yateekamu eyo that violence, eyo brutal way ey'okutunda abantu and objectifying them. Ye ya creating yeri ku backbone ya system eno. Ye ya creating a system eyo. So how did that work? And chatandika kitya is first of wayina chi bali betaga labor force. Ate reasons nyingi eziweebwa, but none is legitimate, and kubanga this was violence. So kangambe the Portuguese and the Spanish body in Latin America, whereby bari babataka, and they were mining gold and everything. Naye but ne basanga gold. Naye ne bakola ki? Ne bagamba ate bano aba indigenous bawano abamu baali babase genocide babase bamazeewo. So bo ne bagamba we bajja on the African twalina so much that we could trade. Bino byonna byava in the trading. There was so much we could trade. Buganda past time immemorial tubadde tukola back cloth. Twalina so many delicacies to trade into the trade. Naye ne bagamba all African leaders either mutuwa abantu bamwe oba we take them by force. So kati we see the creation of capital asooka kati katugende ku mine workers, abantu dock workers abali bakola in London at the time or in the UK. And because when you start seeing about so many people taken away from the African continent, ne bagenda Europe, then ne bagenda all the way to transatlantic. Ekyo kyali to relieve their people of work. So the first capital yali mufirika eyava ku African continent kuba yabasoboseza ebintu bingi is ate si mu kwagala banga slavery was backwards, barbaric, and still remains till this day violence, that reparations, beta okusasula reparations not only to the African diaspora na yenga in general for these acts by okusasula reparations, because it remains inhumane okufuula omuntu an object n'omutunda lwakuba gwe you think they are less than. Naye nga ekyokuthinkinga they are less than eyo yali just intellectual excuse gye baakozesa to say mbu Africans bali less than, and therefore ate eno eyo excuse ekomawo mu kutucolonizing. So these things are not inseparable. Bino ebintu biri attached. Naye nga what's the main reason? Bagobachi, the main thing that was being chased was profits. Easily made profits from bino ebintu. So when that happened, tumanyi at least omanyi twerabira nnyo mbu African enslaved peoples tebagenda just in North America. Even in Latin America, so many of them were put in Latin America. But so many, naenga, right now, Latin America, in every liberation struggle Latin America has been involved in, they always leaning towards and away from capitalism. Ngabagenda towards more socialist-based reforms. But you can see that mu liberation struggle naddala ekifo nga kibadde affected with a history of colonization. With a history of colonization and genocide and massacre, and especially a colonial system, but tending to move away or to destroy capitalist system at the bedrock of all this genocide. So that's why in Latin America, whenever you have a liberation struggle, city surprised we bakoma ne bagamba mbu bagala more socialist leaning policies. Kubanga right now it's happening in Venezuela. So it is not a surprise mubagala tuli nawe naye ekintu with capitalism is wobanga tewetabye mu history waayo wobanga tewetabye mu knowledge more about it is buli omu fefenna twaliteliza mbu yes we can mbu osobola ofuuka anything you want in this system naye nga not the reality kubanga lero I'm just talking about Africans in this system ate ngena kwogera on Africans as colonized people kubanga fena ngomuna Uganda yo an African in a colonized context is capitalism structure already bent towards you with just the process of enslavement of African people. So katigene ku slide eddako kati tutandiko kitunulira within kuma you have to zoom out and zoom back in. So kati tutandiko kitunulira in terms of engeri kino ekintu gye kyakola. So kye baali bakola the UK ngena tunulira UK imperialism kubanga UK ye ya heading empire. So historically the UK had more colonies. And at that time, bona bari running for power, but power for what mwebuza is to run a global empire. Kubanga, then the UK took over for a long period of time. So chebari bakola, they would enslave Africans off of the West African coast. Nae techitegezambu, all the enslaved Africans bava just on the West African coast. They conquered all over the place. Bari bagenda, even a little bit below paka into the Congo, but some areas tebasobola kutuuka, but also this was over time. Ate mujukire also the Portuguese on the other side nabo baali bachikola. So it's not just the British. And then baali bakakola chi colonizing the Americas katinga wetuzimanyi the Americas. So webagenda to the Americas eyo gye baali bajja raw materials, and the Americas sitegeza nga ensi zetumanyi nga United States oba Canada oba all the Caribbean islands katinga katugambe nga Cuba katugambe nga Haiti. Ezo islands zona zaaliko abantu baako bonna battibwa, all the indigenous people battibwa in genocide, then ne baleeta all the Africans be baali bajje from the African continent ne batandika basula on that island to start making products katinga kangambe to start making raw materials nga sugar, cotton. That's why there were specific things that were being produced out of plantation slavery. Now, plantation slavery yaditari only in the Americas, ne Britain yayina plantations. So, and then after that process erinti, all goods would then be made in Europe. Katinga bagenda ne bakola the finished product in Europe. So that was slavery. Bagenda, they still labor from Africa, but not only still labor, massive genocide, massive killing, raiding, coercion, buli kimu involved, heavy violence. Ne bachitwala to the Americas where they've already colonized and killed indigenous people. Then they make products in Europe. That is how yengeri empire jekolamu. Kati awo tuba tutandisa okutunulira. That is why wosanga capitalism or kusanga imperialism. Kuba imperialism is the state your empire controlling all these different places in the world. Nga ina power to control and dictate all these different places in the world. So over time, of course, chino tebachi tusomesa, but African people bebatwala to the Americas, be it North America or Latin America. All those above, they were not going to sit and take oppression, subjugation, violence, but they were going to kutula quietly and take that. Batandika to fight back. Batandika to free themselves, and it was the island of Haiti, Yeyasoko Kwenunula, and it was the first free black state, to the point that it was the only state Eyadimu, that region, where slavery and enslaving people was illegal, and back making sure to bombard Haiti with so many baba omani France should be paying reparations to Haiti chiche bakola Haiti na ye France another audacity to ask Haiti to pay back for okulwana okwenunula. So chikulaga, it goes back to an economy jetudimu that a justifying the French people or okugamba hating bumwino tusasula lwakuba mwatugoba on our plantations okwenunula. So there is no human dignity, nadala gwe dignity filika, is not provided for in capitalism. So ekyo kyo mulina chimanya. So when muba mulwanisa system eno, muba mulwanisa tuba tulina knowing the enemy and how it's affected us. So weba malawo, of course, katugende ku slide eddako eyokusatu. Weba malawo abantu batandise okwenunula in the Americas. So what Europe had a lot of merchants, which are traders. Jukida, they have abducted and taken Africans into the Americas by force and used them as a source of labor. They've started to free themselves. Nayenga, this is what Europe had. Kati kubanga kalika graph mukalabe bagendanga ne bafuna raw materials ne bakola products. Europe yaina so many products. It was so many British goods. Tebaina wakuzisa. Ne batunulamu ne bagamba kati products zaffe tugenda zitwalawa. Naye lwakuba bano abasajja bajoga, they said omanichi kati tuino kutandika tuina a lot of surplus products and tuinachi, and at that time waliwo of course movements, abolitionist movements zali zatandika, and the rhetoric was spreading. Kino kye mulina omanya about capitalism as a system liringa yenguyite baja simanyi oba emisambo gyekyusa gwo gukyuka bukyusi ne bagamba okay kati twetaaga okola ki. Capitalism as a system can transform and modify itself. Kati webava mu chattel slavery or see just chattel plantation slavery, no, see kamuyite transatlantic slavery. Webava mu transatlantic slavery, of which that is a huge topic webawagala researching ako nga objectification of black bodies, baba fude objects ne baba tunda. Kati bayina too many British goods ne bagamba kati zino goods tuzitwalawa. Allah ne bafuna aha moment ne bagamba why tuzitwalewa Africa. So already that starts the process of colonization. So merchants buying so much money to invest surplus. It wasn't only about the goods. Buying goods, ate balina also surplus oku investing. Ne bagamba tuziringewa, ne bagamba wa tuzitwale Africa. So this is how capitalism wajja nafuna bedrock mo African system. Naye what were the principles of capitalism? The principles still remain. Nga we mulabye ka graph kadi kubanga Americas yali colonia ya UK wemba manyi history wa bulungi. America okwelwanirira okufuuka eggwanga all those 50 states okugenda into federation yayekutulako ku British Empire. Ate back then bali bagita empire naye lwakuba bagenda ba erasing our history tuleme kumanya mbu even now we still live in an empire. Yali yekutuddeko ku British Empire. Then that's how Canada got formed. Kubanga bo abali bacha supporting the queen nga bagala the queen afuge abali against mu kati these days ngache tumaninga the United States of America, of which that area Takaribe and indigenous people are still there. Bayeyongerayo ne baja no more north. Ne ba setting up another colony for the British. Kubanga paka this day Canada still queen ya kulembere gwanga. Nayenga also waliwo indigenous people wano. So many were killed wano. Just recently wano basanze unmarked graves, 750 unmarked graves of Abana due to this colonial, of indigenous children due to this colonial brutality. Bagambye yono system eri violent. Okuteka mu capitalism okujiteka mu system yo eri so violent. Baino okutta massive genocide. Kubanga baforcinga buli omuntu assimilate that system, but eyo system etegeza muntu omu yagenda okuba in charge wa company eno afune most of the profits mune babatemereko butemezi. with the hope mbu we mukola nnyo namwe mulituuka whereby ekyo mukikola abantu abalala. Ye your system, ye your cycle, getting in the mental. Naye nga on a bigger grand scale lwakuba tuli kwogera global economy and engeri gye ki-affecting omufirika kyatandika with first of all killing, abducting abafirika from the African continent to take them producing raw materials in the Americas, be it Latin America or the North of Americas. Then as a raw materials ne bazikozesa okukola goods. Naye abafirika ne batandika okwerwanako. Then ba merchants, which were traders, groups ezalimu ba traders, n'abantu bangi abaali bakoze system out of these things, be it kuzimba maato aga transporting nga by the way, kyatuuka even at point in time whereby mu nsi gye tumanyi kati nga the United States of America wali tokyasobola kukola ki ku tradinga kufuna ki kyatuuka ekiseera ne basalako transatlantic slavery naye nga kyebaki-replacing was even more brutal nga kasita bakitegeera mbu wagenze no purchasing enslaved people from Latin America nga kiyinza okuttisa naye nga kyebakola nga batandika kwetradingamu ono ali Wisconsin nga tradinga n'omuntu ali Texas, you know, as though that was humane. It remains okutunda omuntu will never make sense. And there was no excuse for it. Kyekikola system eno backward kubanga it was all about baseline ya capitalism eri profit. However you can make profit okimilkinga and you make profit. Now in order to make that profit tulina kukkiriza the fact that kyatandikira ku ttaka lya mufirika ate ku mubiri gwa mufirika. That's why we tuli today within the economy ya empire. So about colonization, we batandika and the merchants ne bagamba okay tulina all this surplus money tuzisawa ne bagenda ne bakola ne batandika okulaba why in Africa we bagenda okujja these raw materials okukola the products, because colonization yabawa two things kyekimu ne kye bakola with colonization of the Americas, because when you colonize by force again ngumizambu, all these things are violent. Chechikola capitalism inherently violent is cheap raw materials that you almost don't pay for, and then naturala is yebachita batya. Sorry, mbadde nfunyeko omuntu wanantawanya. So cheap raw materials ate nekirala kyemufuna is someone to sell your labor to. No, sorry. Backtracking is bidi bintu bibidi chebafuna with the African with African colonies. Cheap raw materials to make British products or French products or Dutch products, chona and then sell them back to Africans at high prices. And tukyalimu your system till this day these products get made and then shipped to us at a very very high rate. So ekyo kyebaali bamanyi kyekyabaleetamu with colonization kuba baali bamanyi we're going to get cheap raw materials and we're going to get a place to dump and sell all our excess goods ze tutalina anywhere to sell with. So Abafaransa ne banguwako, Abagerman ne banguwako, bonna ne banguwako okujja okugezaako okufuna territories in Africa ze basobola okweddiza, and with over time ne basalawo batuule bakamenya to an agree. So mbalaga mbu mu process y'okusettinga foundations za capitalism mu abagirwanira ennyo temwalinamu ate temulibanamu is the irony kubanga ne bakugamba ogende ogagawale gwe. That's why twebuza bino ebibuuzo lwaki Uganda eriweeri whereby abantu bafa ku boboka na family za boboka is capitalism tesobola kukkiriza kutwala buli omu ku finish line oba olina breaking the economic system kubanga osasulibwa kufa ku gwe n'ababo naye nga struggle yaffe nga Abafirika mu buli era gye tuyiseemu, be it okwenunula from the enslavement of African peoples, oba for liberation after independence, oba okuggyako effugabbi, it is to take means of production tuzizze mu mikono gy'abantu. That's why at a certain point in Uganda twalina unions. That's why at a certain point in Uganda twali twogera, that's why bwe tuddayo ne tusoma zino zi history. That's why tusaba healthcare for all, free high quality healthcare for all. That's why tusaba ebintu nga free education for all. In a capitalist system, education wakusasulibwa. Everything is up to a profit. But it's not making a profit, it doesn't fit the model. So that's how capitalism works. That's why in, of course, African liberation movements existing in the 60s, if not all of them, okujako, of course, about the puppets, and throughout history, we know the truth. Most of them bali leaning towards socialism. Kubanga yesobozesa abantu okufuna dignity. So katugendeko mu slide eddako, kuba that's how capitalism interacts with colonization. And ye model gye tukyalimu today. Africa provides the raw materials, and Europe provides the goods. Naye nga temwe confusing mbu it only has to be Europe. Ngawe nabagambye the capitalist system yefuula nnyo, like it morphs and changes and transitions. Kati tuyina even Africans who are a full representation of what the African system is. Tewetagana agenda to Europe. That's if we're assimilating into the economic system. Kati kanko say an example. Ngena kosa examples biri. Example esooka wetwogera ku mugagga wa abamu ku bagagga baba billionaires abali mu African continent, wetubogerako is goal yabwe is to get profit. Naye kati neweebuuza nga sinagenda ku bagagga kansoke njogere ku nsi ezimu, kansoke njogere ku juzi wano twali tutunulira gold refinery e Rwanda negamba mbu aim yayo is of course to make gold without it going to Europe, which are principles whereby yes, zikolera omufirika, like we produce all the raw materials, therefore we should have access to all the money that comes from this product. But this is where enjawulo weeri. Within capitalism, as long as bisigala within a capitalist system, not the Africans aba producing the raw materials, nebagenda okufunamu naye abantu abatini aba owning that gold refinery. I hope your distinction is very clear. Kubanga yes, tusobola okulwana tugambe kanko say example ya Ghana. Ghana, yes, produces most of the world's cocoa. Bakolamu chocolate everywhere. Be it in Europe, be it in North America, everywhere. They make a lot of chocolate from Ghana's cocoa. Nayenga chatuke chisera where a survey was done, and never the farmers who were farming for this cocoa had never eaten chocolate. That is capitalism. What you will call out. So these African farmers and have been forced to live in, but are living within those stages of African peasantry with farming. Kwa chechiriwa ne Uganda kati tunulire ebintu ebimu nga cotton, abantu abalima baba keepinga mu bwavu mu buddu bajjawo unions. So kyebakola na Ghana wevaayo negamba akati naffe tugenda kukola chocolate. Tekikyusa mbu ne waaba abafirika basatu be batandise company, tekikyusa mbu Ghana watandika okukola chocolate with 3 Africans heading the company, tekigenda kukyusa mbu the profits and the resources just abantu abasatu ne banywanyi babwe bagenda benefiting. The means of production still teziri mu mikono gyaki. That's the system of capitalism. Now in order to break that, oba taking a charge of the whole system, oba choose the whole system. And there's ways to do that. Now you tunako in another day. They don't badinjaga just to just strictly capitalism. Then netugenda ku nadinjaga kutunulira, sorry, blanking out katinitini. Naenga we tuba tugenze ku slide eddako ne slide eddako twagala tutunulire what is called colonial economics kubanga kino kyetulina okukkiriza ate kyetulina okutegeera. When Europe Europe was the empire, UK nga yebakulembedde, Europe became weak at a certain point in time. That was World War II. Europe yatandika to become weak. And then what happened? Nebazulambu, this empire is going to be very hard to keep together unless all these former European colonies and the new superpower, of course, Jetumanyi Katilero as the United States of America, would come together and become one. So nebatandika something called collective imperialism. That's why obalaba bewuba mu G7, G8, simanya, bewa bitibwa bino byonna byonna. Naye that's to allow the further exploitation of resources from the African continent okwongerayo this system of oppression, which is batufunako raw materials at a very cheap rate, and then number two, after they steal all the raw materials, nebagenda nebakola products ate nebazitutundira. Kati oyinza batya okutundira ki? Oyinza batya okutundira omukongo diamond oba necklace ya gold nga bamujja mu backyard ya Congo. This is how it relates to us today. Katika tutunulire kino. How colonial economics we yakolanga in England's case. Kuba England ye yakola njogerako lwakuba nze gye ndi more knowledgeable about kubanga of course lwakuba ensi yange yali English protectorate naye dala it was a colony kubanga whether you are a British protectorate or a British colony, the anthem yali bajja kujja babajjemu raw materials bagende bakole products ate bazibatundire, and that process has repeated itself up to today. Engoye ezo zonna zonna bezivaawa genda mwabali ewaka genda mulabe just products nenzino fast food chain restaurants okujja mu Africa ne tukyamukirira nnyo. Simanya mbu KFC yazze, simanya mbu McDonald's yazze, naye mukyala wa wino ki eyali agenze okutandika okutunda emmere eweeru. Like eno system eri at work exploiting at every point. That's why Africa nga continent tenatuuka to what we call industrialization, like okubuilding industries eziri functional eziyamba abantu. Lwaki mwebuuze lwaki tetutuuka ku stage eyo? Kubanga this is how it worked. Products zonna zikolebwa mu industry. Therefore Africa tesobola kuba with industry. And then colonies ezirala zaali providing raw materials. Africa those are the middle colonies. Netuba ne southern colonies whereby zino zaali providing all the other raw materials and also nga ziri indoctrinated into servanthood and servanthood or within a system of systematic oppression of labor exploitation. Africa weyesanga whereby abafirika buli wamu wetwali, and we came into contact with Europeans, be it transatlantic slavery, naye naddala also colonization principle yali emu to exploit African labor. That is why tulina okuba within wetuba turanisa systems to think about engeri gye tugenda okufighting and shifting that system. But the number one principle tugirina ng'abantu is okwenunula always. We have always looked at massive struggle. Fenna twenunula lumu tosobola kwenunula gwe ng'omuntu n'oba free. That's why twesanga nga era nga tuzzeeyo okulwana ku nsonga ezitukwatako ng'abantu. Kubanga gwe n'oba oyagala otya n'oba oyagala okubeera free African individual or system already eri built on the backbone of capitalism exploiting. Webate exploiting your labor, it will exploit gwe ng'omuntu. So you find yourself back in that backbone. So Chetuyino already, which will always fight capitalism, is a collective. So we're too sigala with that concept. Kubanga, the one principle of capitalism will always be an individual. You can go do whatever you want your free will naye that is a lie kubanga just ne woba weetaaga tumanyi twetaaga abantu in this world wolwala ogenda wamusawo tewaliwo muntu no man is an island. So that is a fabrication by capitalism oku making sure people stay within this system. So wotandika oku breaking away from that individualism notandikira ddala especially economically notandika okutunulira sente and money and how it goes in and out in the global economy. Otandika okulaba the exploitation of African people still this day. That's why Museveni akyali ali kurwana entalo in the Congo to provide raw materials for these colonial countries. That's why Kagame is a puppet for these people. Kubanga bafunira raw materials and resources, and in return they get kubanga capitalism preaches individualism ne bafunayo ka check ra bebakoze ne begulirayo akayumba ne begulirayo akayumba abroad. That is how capitalism is. It's a barbaric backward system. Teina jetu zamaso as a people, it only elevates individuals bebe kiriza to elevate. Gwetuzo kuveri nguwa sabatuzo nga tebakumanyi musimanya nawe yagala ebyo bye bayima mu nyimba mbu we can woba bweranyeko you can kubanga this is how capitalism works, to the point that omuntu wagaggawala era capitalism akkiriza obubbi omuntu wagaggawalamu eyo system nga talina kugaggawala fashionable then ne batandika okukola ki ne batandika okubbako kubanga eyo system ekkiriza just basearching n'omubantu. That's why Museveni bajaagala nnyo kubanga yagamba twavuwaze eyo system eyavuwaza abantu by the way is one thing. Kubanga wotunulira colonization and transatlantic slavery, those are all systems of okwavuwaza abantu. Naye nga anyway nga tweyongerayo then ku slide eddako ndooza yene genda okubanga esembayo in regards to Africans. Njagala mwena mwebuze kino ekibuuzo. Africa, we produce what we don't need and we use or we import what we don't have. Njagala kino ekintu eno quote yansigalamu banga panvu kubanga it's true. Wokitunulira kati kangambe kankose example ye Uganda n'ebintu ebimu betuyina ate byetu importinga. Before Europeans came to Uganda, abantu bali bambala engoye sikyo? Naye kati to importing engoye from Salvation's Army, and which is considered waste munsizawa, no? It's actually ngoye abantu ze batagala, and zona zeziri muwino, and nayenga tetukirizibwa kuproducinga. So we produce what we don't need. Nayenga cotton akuzibwe Uganda. So cotton oyo nagenda nakola zino engoye ne bazambalamu round nga 3 ne bazikowa ne bagula, and then fe ne tuzi importinga. Choka cotton yavudde Africa na yavudde Uganda mu backyard yaffe. Kantunulira example endala njagala kulowooza ku bintu ki ebirala byetuyina. Bintu bingi byetu producing kubanga Uganda is an agricultural country. Katutunulire ng'omuceere. Kuba Uganda, yes, it definitely ekuza omuceere. Naye nga production y'ogwo omuceere wezitaba companies abano banyiginyalicious. So wewunya omuceere gufuluma then ne gukomawo nga gulina n'amannya amalala. Tulina n'omuceere gwe tuyita mu Pakistan naye nga tusobola okuza omuceere ku ttaka lyaffe. So we produce what we don't need. Buli kye tuproducing affe tufulumya bufulumi. Ate nga kiva ku leba y'abantu mu ggwanga eryo. Bantu bafama, bantu abalimi be balima ne batekamu obudde bwabwe n'amaanyi gaabwe, and they make the land produce. Naye ezo ne zifuluma as cheap raw materials outside ne bakola product, then ne babikomyawo ne babitutundira. Tulina gold, tulima gold. Bagenda ne bakola gold necklace. Gwe nga tosobola na gigula eyagirimye n'ogijja mu ttaka. That is what we call capitalism. Eyo system eri exploitive, eri backwards, and yet you engage to affecting amu as not only Africans but as colonized people, as Ugandans. to affecting us whether we like it or not. So that's why at the end of the day Museveni ali a very vicious dictator. Rachi, that's why akozesa the rule of the gun. Kubanga to impose capitalism, of course, bakozesa mundu. That's why till this day, okusustaining a capitalism, bakozesa mundu and violence. But the difference is, abantu, they will always rise. Kansubire banaye leero sibiseemu bwangu nnyo, kansubire ebintu ebimu bi resonate nze naye nga closing nga lesson ya leero ebadde about knowing the enemy and the capitalist system. Kansubire tutandise okulaba ebintu ebimu whereby abantu bwe baba nga fe abaproducing ekintu naye nga tetukifunamu magoba at all, your labor is being exploited. And that's capitalism is principle 101. Omuntu oli ali kungulu okufuna most of the profit. So n'ekirala kyemulina omanya, capitalism ye global economy gye tulimu kati ng'abantu for the most of us. Kubanga tulimu nga bwe nakyogeddeko wali, we are in what they call a collective. Tulimu what they call a collective imperialism. Kubanga Europe started becoming weak, a little bit weak. Where people fought back in the African continent. We not to give the credit to ancestors baffe. Kubanga baali tebatudde, fe tutudde na nnyo. Baali bo tebatudde naye I can understand lwaki tutudde lwakuba propaganda mungi, obulimba bungi, naye nga that's also not an excuse. Tulinga abataagala kwerwanako really at a point gye tutuuseeko. Naye nga we have to shake out of that kubanga the benefit of struggle y'aba ancestors baffe newa gye baatujja. Gwe ng'omufirika, you feel it when these things are unfair. Okimanyi down mu ntobo y'omutima gwo that these things are just olina ku activating that okwagala okumanyamu. Kubanga mo w'oyagala okumanya ku ggwe ng'omuntu ava ku continent eyo, the more wekigenda oku opening doors to liberate sigwe just sekinomu. Kuba liberation y'Abafirika tejja kuba ya muntu omu, ejja kuba, that's why Abafirika ne bagaggawala batya simanya badangote era they end up staying in this capitalist system whereby omugagga nga oba yali Dangote asobola okulinnya ennyonyi n'agenda Italy just okulya gelato then n'akomawo naye nga abantu be abakola mu companies still this exploitative system happens. Bo lwaki tebasobola kulinnya nnyonyi ne bagenda Italy okulya gelato nga sikutte just on the cultural context of how capitalism just ekufuula kwagala ku living within a cultural context which is not yours nga sikuttemu ebyo. Lwaki bo abamukolera mu companies producing a cement tebasobola kikola? That's capitalism for you. The exploitation of labor. Bana bakola mu companies ne bakola nga abaddu ye n'alinya ennyonyi just for lunch time n'agenda n'alya gelato naye amaalo. Anyway, ekyo katukite nga tweyonge. So this is how wotandika ddala okumanya the enemy naddala if you're in the masses. Your enemy is economic system gye tulimu globally by force, by rule of the gun. Mukimanye kiri by force. Kubanga buli abantu we ba rising up okukola any change. That's why by force. That's why abantu we batandika ne mu Uganda nawulira batandisa kukosa the same excuses. It's the same rhetoric and language that is used. But we need to protect private property. Abantu we ba rising up ne bookya ekibuga lwakuba they are unsatisfied lwakuba obulamu bwabwe buli there's no government services provided for them. Oba mu America kanko said there is no security provided by the country for the Africans in America. We are rising up agamba tulina protecting a private property. In Uganda we're rising up lwakuba abantu baffe tebalina healthcare. There is huge disparities in wealth. Abantu ne bayimuka ne bookya mipiira. Government neyechanga tulina protecting a private property. Awechiva, the protection of just individuals over masses will always be the backbone of capitalism ate bw'obuying just know capitalism eventually is going to fall regardless, because capitalism just abadde formulating into different systems and different forms, uh, and different forms so that it doesn't fail. But this is the trajectory of history. Era ne feudalism bagamba ajja kugwa, yagwa, and it morphed into chetumanyi today as capitalism. Naye nga principle esigala yemu: get massive profits, cheap raw materials, import a lot of goods to those places at high price, exploitation of labor, only care about the profit margins and the profit you're making. Principles zezimu. It's about individuals and not the masses and the people and people living in that society. That's why kati today twebuuza, oh Uganda twatuuka tutya, oba katugambe shoze singa mpulidde twebuuza fanga Abaganda twatuukawa whereby, you know, buli omu yeefaako yekka. That is capitalism at work. Buli omu yeefaako yekka kuba that's the modulus, that's the system, that's how it works. Tosobola kuva eri n'oyagala ku liberating Africans and capitalism. Kino actually nze nakiwamu n'obudde. I thought wetugula all African products oba omuntu wagagawala then na investing a money. No, ekyo tekikola kuba our people number one are not a kuba aba prime ministers nabo kye batugamba tugendagenda tufune zino sente $1 million, 200 million Ugandan million shillings, then tugende tugula enkota z'amatooke tutu. Our people, they are not a charity. Our people bamanyi kye balwanira, bagala access to resources, and capitalism cannot give that. So therefore, fenga abantu, we need to educate ourselves on capitalism as a system, not only of economics, but of political governance. And we need to know capitalism engeri gyekola at a local level and globally, and especially how it affects African countries. Kubanga kati we cannot even industrialize. That's why industries ziffa. Naye of course eza Rwanda ziritandika okukola because tukimanyi fenna Kagame is a CIA agent. You know, this is not rocket science. But creating, you know, the country, Africa's shining star, because Bamutekawa is an agent. So I think this is the backbone of capitalist system. This is going to be the last one. Capitalism, ne propaganda wayo teaches us mbu ebintu ebitubaddeko ng'Abafirika on the African continent, also Abafirika elsewhere, mbu it's their fault. So Rwanda eri kufuna this good image as Africa's rising economy, naye all the countries ezigiriraanye in poverty, but mbu it's our fault, we're in poverty. But that's a lie. Capitalism does is lie. Echo, that's a lie. The reason why we are impoverished is because paka to this day, but supporting a dictatorship in Tibo Habura, whereby starting the waging the war not only on Ugandans against the, as far as Central Republic, Yingi de Congo, against the Somalia, and also all those wars have been to get resources. So that is how it works. Banaye mukimanye mukitegere. Terms zalero that I encourage you to go and look up is, first of all, njagala mugende mu looking at it called Black Capital. It will explain how African people who were put in through transatlantic slavery became the first capital and what the birth of capitalism as a system. I would encourage you to go look at merchants in Europe and the beginning of colonization, how merchantism started another sequence of capitalism with the collection of African people. I would encourage you to go look at time yokusatu muloza sijerabidde, sorry mbadde ndoza njerabidde naye nga kansubire fena tulina kyetufunyeemu leero, kansubire fena tulina kyetufunyeemu leero and tulina kyetutegeddemu leero. Tukyasomera tukyalina bingi ebyokusoma naye nga it is only when you start to fight a system, not as an individual, but kino ebintu tulina bikola collectively. Kubanga era nga bwe nabagambye, freedom yaffe to come is for the collective, not for the individual. So funa a way to start having conversations, to organizing with people. But to fight capitalism, kano ke kasemba actually is wetaga strategy. Tosobola kumala bino, tosobola kumala gabigwira. Ngamba gambye, this thing kyefuula ne kifuukamu ekintu ekipya. That's why kati today tuli mu nsi tuli mu African countries zonna abantu baffe barwana back in the 60s for independence beesanze balina African leaders abaddugavu bagoba omuzungu, but the problems are still the same. That is how capitalism works. Yefuula yekyusa. So tulina strategizing ate to strategize olina okumanya oba tomanyi tosobola kulwana. So principle number 1 ey'olutalo lwonna know the enemy. Mutandike oku indicating what's the systemic enemies, and one of our systemic enemies systems that tulina okulwana okugjawo mukimanye as of today. Oba obadde tokimanyi tandika okiwuteekamu obudde, kijja kutuyamba gye bujja mu maaso. Njagala beeyanza abasobodde okutweyungako leero okulaba okuva gye twavudde paka wano we tuli, and bannange bajja kuba nga banneeyungako ku program eddako era nga apologizing sometimes obuta showing up, naye nga tuba obudde buba butukutte ate oluusi byuma bye biba bitutawanyiza, naye nga tugenda kugezaako okusigala nga tuli consistent okubaweereza okusoma nammwe kubanga that's important gye tulaga ne bujja maaso. So njagala kuba I want to wish you a good day, and hopefully you'll have a good rest of your day. Yona gye muli woba nga mubadde wakazuukuka oba obuba obuziba oba obuba bwakakya oba you're in afternoon time, omukama abakuume atakuumira mpeera. Tuddemu nate tusisinkane next Saturday.